Oh, yeah. Oh, hello to everybody, and I hope you are well. I don't know what to say. And yes, I'm well, and everything is okay. There's no any disaster so far. And so that is my short report about what's happening at here. So I think I will go straight to the reading. And yeah. So last reading was verse 9 and 10. And the verse 10, which, I didn't finish all the 4 lines, just finished first 2 lines. But just first, to think about, the in the morning, as I have suggested several times during this, the gathering or during this, reading text, and habituate ourselves, setting our intention, motivation, how we're going to spend our day. And then, of course, if you are Buddhist or if you have some form of spiritual path to follow, then again, to make that your intention or the motivation, to make it richer by supporting with your spiritual, the path, like people who are Buddhist, remembering the 3 jewels, the Dharma and the Sangha, and also, the remembering the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. Very briefly at the morning will be quite useful. And also, I have suggested every, whenever you can find a time, just 5-7 minutes, to do a short meditation, to build sense of calmness, sense of relaxation, whatever that you would like to use, such as your breathing. And also, of course, then people who have daily practice, whatever, which level that you are doing. And those are something which you can, make sure in your daily practice, make sure those are there, as a routine, habituating activities. That will be helpful. So this verse 10 has that kind of package, saying that, to the 3 jewels, make prayers and offering each day. And which I mentioned that the other day, 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, and as a Buddha, as one's own teacher, mentor, Dharma as something to be applied, something to be enrich our daily activities, and Sangha as a supporter, helper, friends, and making offerings, which also I mentioned the other day, it is more like a universal practice. Almost all the world major religious traditions have something making offerings. And, there doesn't need to be vast, doesn't need to be something spectacular, huge number. Of course, if those are the, you are able to, then of course it's fine. Otherwise, something, from your heart to make offerings. And also, as I mentioned the other day, making offerings should not be, understood only to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas or the three jewels or those, spiritual sort of beings. Making offerings also, should include giving to those beings who need, including, saving their lives, including giving teachings and so forth. And that is really which we can do in our daily basis. Here it says offering each day. To understand the main reason to do that practice, and that is to really reduce, to minimize, and if it is possible, to get rid of the attachment, that craving, clinging. And that's the main reason, which I mentioned the other day. And work hard to be wholesome. And those are the wholesome, if we continue doing that, enhancing bodhicitta, compassion, and working, living with those mental states. And those are the really something, saying, the work hard to be wholesome. Quite often technically a term is used, accumulating the merit. And that's which I mentioned the other day. Then confessing, confess previous wrongdoings or previous, those mistaken actions. And that which I mentioned the other day with those four, the factors or four, the powers, sometimes translated, power base, that is bringing, before you do the confessing the negativities, bring a very positive mind as a base, that from there you do the practice of purification or confessing the negativities. And that positive mind can be strong compassion, strong love, altruism, strong refuge, people who are doing people who are Buddhist, and people who are not Buddhist, have some other strong positive mind. And that's the first one, which I mentioned, And second one is a strong regret, which is important. Without regret, it will not, very difficult to see how the confessing practice will work. That is also mentioned. Then the third one is the actual antidote, power of antidote, such as recitations of 100 syllable mantra, recitation of, the Akshobhya's mantra, and there are many other mantras, but also important to know, the meaning. If you look at the meaning of those mantras, 100 syllable mantras, Akshobhya mantras, these all are, related to bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness, union of those two, and so on and so forth. So actual application of, the third force or the power is really actually applying the actual antidote, and that is the third. And the fourth is, cultivating determination not to repeat again. And that is really the fourth, and that fourth one is also mentioned in the third line. Here it says, strengthen your vows again and again. I think it may be a little bit, I am not sure it has the actual, what is in Tibetan. In Tibetan it says, lenche domba. chedak cha. Lenche dompa. Lenche means later or the future. And this is to do with the out of those four forces, the last force, lenche. It means they're really in the future. And domba, that is the vows, but the domba also have a meaning, in this case, chinje domba. That means making it, as I use this term, determination. Having a determination, not to repeat those mistakes again, not to act those wrong actions again. And that is also domba. Domba means making that, literally it means making that promise. And so this is more like emphasizing the out of the four powers, the last power, emphasizing chetak means here again and again. Chetak, it means stronger and stronger. Bring that fourth power out of the fourth power. Four powers, bring the fourth, which is that determination, bring that stronger and stronger. And that is really important, so that's the line four, third line, meaning of. So here what we have so far, remembering the three jewels and the offering, and then, engaging in virtues and confessing the negativities. So some of those out of the 7 limb practice, those, 4 or 5 are there. And then last line, kansa gewa sanje gyurungo. And that is dedication. Dedication. The whatever virtues, no matter how small they are, no matter how small they are, always dedicate something in a more wider, bigger, and for the long term. If we dedicate, even if mass virtues of activities, if we dedicate just for this life, something positive, just for one's own something positive in the future, and that vast virtues that we have collected or created, the result will like that, just this lifetime, or just for one's own. But if you, whatever vast or small, if you dedicate that virtues to the wider, say the whole, all living beings, for the sake of all living beings, for the, the benefit of all living beings, even though the virtue itself might be very small, what you have dedicated, it's a result to dedicate to those, the huge numbers, and it makes that big difference. And that is what here, the last line from the verse, verse 10. Here it says, dedicating all merit for enlightenment. So enlightenment from the point of view of the Mahayana Buddhist point of view, dedicating virtues, that all living beings to experience full enlightenment is the sort of most virtues, the most highest, or the most sort of amazing to be towards to be dedicated. And that's what here enlightenment is mentioned. But you can dedicate like people who don't have the concept of enlightenment, people who don't don't have that kind of belief system, that kind of understanding, but dedicate for which are usually, although they don't use the term dedication, some of these very what's called people who work thinking for generation after generation. Their work may not bring result in their lifetime or in the next few decades. Some people do that, think for generation after generation. Like, for example, some of those, environmentalists, people who work for environment, people who work, some of those working for the poverty, to solve the poverty, the world, in the world. And they have these, those are also, what you call we can, similar, things, people. So that is really something useful to know that. Okay, so those are the, the meaning briefly. But most of you know those 7 limb prayers, 7 limb prayers, you know that. What is not here is, the out of 7 limb. There are 2, requesting the teachings, and also requesting the teachers to live a long life. Those 2 are not there. Otherwise, almost all the 7 prayers are things there, offering is there. But the prostration made connected with the prayers at the first line, when it says, to the 3 jewels, make prayers. The prayers can have a verbal recitation, physical gesture, and also mental gesture. So otherwise, the requesting teachings and requesting, the live long. Otherwise, all the 7 limb prayers are there, which is very, lay people can do quite, in a short, like 10, 15 minutes of, that kind of time scale. You can do relatively well, these practices, and that's something quite useful to know. Now, then the next verse. So today we will, I will see how far we can go, because now the verse 11 and 12 are the more or less, again, Geshe Tashi is repeating or reminding us again the nature of impermanence. And in here, the nature of impermanence is, the more like our possessions. The previous nature of impermanence is mentioned relation to our lives. Death is definite. Time of the death is indefinite, and all that is mentioned. And in here, what you call the nature of impermanence is mentioned or explained relation to the, the things that we have, collected, that we have collected. Here it mentions saying, to conclude, you are born alone, die alone. Friends and relations are therefore unreliable. Dharma alone is supreme reliance. So here, the very similar meaning. This is what that verse comes from, the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, I think in 2nd chapter. Very similar. When you're born alone. When we die, we'll die alone. If those are, what we have, what we have gathered, what we have built relation, connection, if they can't take the pains in those 2 occasions, then what's the point to have those doing Geshe Tashi Tsering. But this is more talking about serious practitioner. Serious means, anyway, yeah. So very, friends and relations are therefore unreliable. Unreliable, it is not saying, they will not help, they are not helpful, they are not useful, or they are not there when you need help and support. Unreliable from the point of view of, something that in the long term that you need in your spiritual journey. And also unreliable in the sense, very easily separated, very easily change. One of the what you call the disadvantages of samsaric things is, the idemeva. Idemerung sibe punzote. So in again, Geshe Tashi that line is from foundation of all good qualities. Idemerung sibe punzote. You can't rely on fully. You can't rely on the what you call the goodness of the samsara. Of course, you can have it, you can collect it, you can buy, you can, but you can't rely on them 100%. So, and these are the very similar meaning. There's another, I think it's from Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. There is this particular line saying, even with just one word, one statement, your best friend, for the last 20 years, 30 years, may, end that friendship. And that's what here. And of course, these possessions, there's nothing. As I mentioned the other day, this which earlier one of the Tsongkhapa's texts, the Tsongkhapa said, it is like pulling a hair from the middle of the butter. Nothing comes out with that hair. No butter comes out, just only hair. And that is what here is talking about. And so little bit harsh, but true, if you're looking at in the long term. And so Dharma alone is supreme reliance. So Dharma alone. So in other words, this is more thinking about, Prasad. I think it is when it is in Dhammapada or one of those texts to explain the benefits of listening, the reading, the particularly listening in that case. Says, the Dharma or the teachings, what you have learned, cannot be robbed by the robbers. So that anyway, it's not coming here, but a very nice one. So that's what here, Dharma alone, in the sense what we have cultivated: love, compassion, altruism, tolerance, the understanding of emptiness, bodhicitta, what we have cultivated within ourselves, they were with us all the time, all the time. And particularly when we are moving from this life to the next life, they will be with us. And that is what here, reliance or reliable, in the sense, what we have cultivated or nurtured ourselves, that nurtured our minds, that they will with us all the time. And that's what the meaning of reliable or reliance. And that's verse 11. And verse 12, once again, going back to the, what you call the impermanence. In short, life is over, gone in a flash. No, not in short. This short life is over. And that is, really something repeated by these great teachers again and again, to say, to remind, to be fully aware of that nature, the nature of life. One of the previous verse, Geshe Tashi said, when you see, the people are dying, and that should, and this is also another way sort of to remind ourselves, our lifespan is not that long. Even if we say live very long, but not that long. It's very, like in the dark sky. These days happen very often because, starting the monsoon and that stormy cloud, you can see the flash light of, lightning. And this short life is over. Yeah, one of great Tibetan teacher, I think 18th or 19th century, Kondang Chabayang, he said this: "Chungo chungo samni nishu song, chego chego samni nishu song, machung machung samni nishu song, mesi tongse chebe namdarin." So that is in Tibet around 18th or 19th century. The lifespan was just around 60, and then this verse is explained by this chungo chungo samni nishu song, saying that 20 years since you were born, first 20 years passed saying I'm a very young, small, young. And then, the next 20 years thinking, okay, I'll do. That means 40 years already passed. Then, majung samni nishu, saying, now it's too late. Then another 20 years passed. So your 60 years is gone. And that's Mrs. Tongse Chimbe Namdari. That is my biography of being empty-handed, the life. So that is what Kondang Chabayang said. And that's really true. Not only true our how we structure our life, and society also treat us in that way. Entire society sort of our entire sort of life, how we prepared, going to kindergarten and school and university. Those are the preparation time, and then enjoyment time, and going to pub and have a big pint and all those things. And then, they have some sort of family, the lay people have some sort of family, bringing up children, and which are nice and important. I'm not saying they are not nice, but that is all. What do you think? Okay, I will, at the retirement, I have more time to go around the world or whatever. So then when you get a little bit older, okay, now, but that last part is not there in the Western culture. In the Western culture, even you are 80 saying, I want to do it. I want to do the bungee jumping. I like that. That might be the last 20 years thinking might be just Tibetan culture. Okay, so now I'm too old. Now I'm too old. I don't want to do. But in the West, no, I can go to do my shopping. I don't want your help. So anyway, and that's really something how we have this culture, and constantly procrastinating, postponing, pushing back, pushing further and further. And that's what here, the meaning of this verse 12. This short life is over, gone in the flesh. Realize that come what may. Now is the time to find happiness everlasting. Do not leave this precious human life empty-handed. And this is also very nicely, there are one or two very nice verses in Shantidev's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life in the first chapter. Security number chokta, miserliness, javeko, rinjering tongue, chanju semshi chang. So saying to hold the bodhicitta in this lifetime, the lifetime that this precious human life that you have, hold. If you do that, then this contaminated life, this, life which is dukkha, suffering, will become very precious life. Yeah, like that. So this is very nice verse. So those two verses are like a more conclusion. The verse 11 and 12, concluding mainly to reminding us the nature of impermanence, by recalling that nature, then to say, to what you call to practice Dharma, to take the essence, to utilize this human existence that we have, not to procrastinate, not to waste, and that's what these two verses are more like a conclusion of. Okay, so this is that. Now we will do the Taravam. Okay. So as you know, this is Tara, liberator. In many different ways that we can look at, how the meaning of liberator, Tara as a liberator, and here we are looking at liberates from those 8 fears. And the 8 fears are all related to our, the distorted, mistaken mental states. Of course, not to get mistaken, we have many positive thoughts, many positive minds, many positive, emotions. But here we're looking at, those other side of our mental states. And those out of 8, we finished up to 5. We finished 5. Now today we are going to start 8. So the first one is the negative pride, and second one is ignorant. Third one is hatred. Fourth one is jealousy. And the fifth one is wrong view. No, mistaken view, wrong view. And this, which I mentioned the other day, very, of course, jealousy, hatred, anger, negative, what you call the negative pride, they are very unpleasant. They are very, when they occur, they disturb many of our, they disturb our, many good qualities, no doubt. But compared to the wrong views, as I mentioned the other day, the entire our mental state, either positive or negative, can be fall into these two groups, either emotion or thought. The emotion or thought. So hatred, anger, negative pride, these are the emotion. Attachment, and but the wrong view is what you call the thought. It comes through thinking process, through reasoning, through reasoning, and or reason may not be one's own thinking. Reason is related by some other thing, other people's rational. By reasoning, then build some kind of believing system. That is the thought what we are talking about, and the wrong view, that is it is like robber. It robs all the the virtues, in all the virtues. And it also brings, creates what's called the unpleasant or non-virtuous behavior. Non-virtuous behavior. So that's the fifth one. So today's sixth one. It is what's called the miserliness. Miserliness, yeah, tight fist. The sadhana, unable to let go, unable to share, unable to share, unable to let go, miserliness. And that is really here illustrated as a stone iron door. Iron door which has a lock, stone iron lock. The lock and the iron doors, gates, door or gates, cannot sort of differentiate which is the gate, which is the lock. So it illustrated in a very strong, what you call the, unable to go, unable to escape from that, out of that gate, because it is an iron gate, but the iron gate is, there is a strong iron lock, but lock and gates cannot be differentiated. And that's what here illustrated, miserliness. So here this is misesibe zongkhang rawaro. So miseva, endless, this samsaric prison. Endless in the sense out of the 12 links of dependent origination. While we are experiencing, the one set of results of the one set of 12 links of dependent origination, we are creating, accumulating, creating the many sets, new sets to experience in the future. And that's what the meaning of endless, miseba. There's no ending. Sibe zonggang rawaru. So Siva, samsara, Tsongkhang is the prison, Rawa is the environment, that huge, what you call the high fence with electric, all those things. As soon as, when it says Tsongkhang, I get that image. In the West, you have this huge, very tough, what you call the prisons. Mississippi, Tsongkhang Rawaru, Lujin Rawan Meba, Chinchechin. And, the beings, living beings, including myself, living beings or I, without any choice, without any sort of choice, I was bind or kept, in that prison, endless prison. Sebe gochak yake kubai, sena chakdu chiba gyaptuso. Seba, out of the 12 links of dependent origination, I think it is the number 8. There are 2 or 3 quite similar. I think it is craving or clinging, one of those 2. Seba, part of attachment, really part of attachment, but in a different degrees of attachment. I think it is the number 8 and number 9, I think. And, that gochak, yage kubai, that I just mentioned, that out of the 12 links of dependent origination, that number 9, I think it's craving, or whatever term that you use is number 9. It is like that iron gate, which has the what you call the that iron lock, cannot be differentiated which one is which. Like completely bind with that, completely molded with this, therefore cannot be sort of, may I be protected from this, iron, what you call the chain, the iron chain of miserliness, miserliness. And that is really the number 6, which is, the certain culture and environment give us the opportunity and make us, to share our things with others, our possessions. In the West, which I'm very admired, have this culture to share fundraise, one within 24 hours. Sometimes on BBC, they have this kind of project raising funds. Sometimes raise, 30, 40 millions overnight. And also there are many, there's a very nice culture. But this is culture. Culture itself is very good. But individually, how much we really do it, there are many, many good people, I know that, do that, doing that kind of sharing. But here, what we need to understand is, am I doing it? Am I sharing it? Am I able to do that? What I'm doing, is it that what I'm participating, what I'm doing, is it just the culture I'm brought up and I'm doing it, or I see the reason, I understand the reason, I have all this, that is something which is important. I always see this, Like in India, it seems now, have that some of those amazing, the fundraising activities, which is, good one to do that. Mm. Anyway, dealing with the miserliness, it is one of the serious, mental difficulties. It is the mental state which make us unable to let go, unable to share our things with others. Mm. Okay, so that is today's reading, and from this, so we'll do a Tara station. Mm. Wadalai ne jone, tami changu ne dunsh, Baba me je la jen, to some sanje chinen, Toma koje she so, Wadalai ne jobi. Shagi pe mo la de, Pongba gung la dunze ma, Toma yum la chanse. Om je ze ma, Pama drama la chanse. Chanse drama nyuma pa mo, Chene geje lo da. Jigden sumgun chugi she je, Kesa chewa na ne jo. Chanse tongge dawa kun do, Kangwa jene tsikpe she. Kama tongda tsoba nam je, Rabdo chewe raba. Chanse sungun chune te je, Peme chane na parje. Jimba zundu kado she wa, Soba samden ju ni. Chanse tejin shebe tso dolo taye nambara jawa che. Malu paru jimba to be gewe segi shindo ten. Chanse duda rahung ye ge, Duda chota kwa tang. Jikden dombo shabi nende, Luba meba guba. Chanse gejin mela tsangba, Lunga na so jo chen. Chombo rana jesa namanda, Nijun soji dune se. Chanse jeje chatan peje, Paro chogo rabu chong. Paro chogo rabu chong ma, Egon yunjan shabi. Mabara choba chenpo, Bara ma, Chanse turi jibwa chen. Digi bao nambara chong ma, Chuye shene chunye. Tao tamje ma lu se ma, Chanse kunjo sunpe chan. Seme toga nambara gen ma, Malu choye kolo gen. Rangi je tsonama chu ma, Chanse rabdo kawa che. Ujin je chengwa pe ma, Sheba raje to da. Dudan jigen wangdo ze ma, Chanse saji tong so. Tamje go bara ne ma nye ma, Chunye yewa ye gen. Pongba tamje nambara chu ma, Chanse dawe. Genpa tamje shindo bara ma, Rebe jene. Tabara shindo rabu ze ma, Chanse kebe tama. Barwe tingwe wene ne ma, Yejan yungung kune ko. Daye pungne nambara chong ma, Chanse sashi ma la chan. Tiki nujin shagi dong ma, Chunye jenze yege hong. Rinpo dumbo namne ge ma, Chanse dema ke ma shi. Nyamne deshin ju ne ma, Sowa omda yanda den. Dikwa jumbo jumba nye ma, Chanse kune koro ka. Daye lune nambara gen ma, Yige chebe nga me kwe. Dikwa hone joma nye ma, Chanse tori shame da. Honge nabe sabe nye ma, Dira menda ratambe. Chigen sumna yewa nye ma, Chanse laye tsoye da. Rita tajen chana na ma, Dara nye je pede. Dina ma lu pa ne se ma, Chanse laye tsonge. Pada meyam je ten ma, Gune goja kawa je. Zeda melang ngenpa sen ma, Chanse nima tawa je. Jinyi pola rabu sen ma, Hara niju du da da. Shindo chagu rinne sen ma, Chanse tingi sum kwe. Shewe tu da yang da ten ma, Du da ro na ni ho. Chomba du re rab cho ni ma, Zawe nga je du ba de. Chanze wane nishu zang che. Chanjo senjo rembo je maje panama je yuj. Jeba nyamba meba ya kone kondo pewa shon. Kare rave korve shingamande pendan dewa malu chumene. Jenre senwa tenjin jazo yi shabe sede pado tenjo che. Oh yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And in the UK, it's now around maybe 11 or 12, 11:30. Still, you have Sunday. I hope nice. You have nice Sunday. And I don't know if it's sunny or not. If it is sunny, enjoy. Enjoy according to the circumstances. Okay, I will see you next time. Thank you and take care.